Hello, awakened people of Earth. I am James.
I'm Liz.
Welcome. It's been a while since I've had any videos up, or we've done one, and we've just been having all these really great discussions. And during this amazing time right now, I feel we definitely needed to reach out and kind of connect and maybe provide some of our own input to things that everybody's been kind of feeling. So, one of those topics, and the topic for today, would be Starseed. As you see, we got a little oracle deck here. This is the Starseed oracle deck. And so we've definitely been feeling that a lot of people and a lot of our topics and discussions have come up about starseeds. Like, what is a starseed and what does that really mean? So first, I want to start off by jumping to kind of the three-dimensional description of this. So I found this to be interesting. Why not just, if you were to Google it, what would you bring up? So as you'll see right here, what we've got from Google, there's not much, or from Wikipedia, right? Not that I go there for really legitimate information, but it's always a good place to start. So Wikipedia has star people, New Age belief, individuals who believe they originated from another world or planet. Now, I would say as a starting point, that's pretty accurate. I think that it's probably the most direct way of explaining what a starseed might be, right? The definition of that. Now, in our discussions, we found that it could be expanded upon a little bit. Liz, why don't you kind of start us off a little bit with kind of how that's come up and how you might see a starseed or relate to, like, if you were to explain it to somebody who's like, a starseed, what is that? How would you explain it?
So, and this is completely my own perspective and just me connecting with my higher self as far as a definition for what a starseed may be. I identify as a starseed, and that's self-identification as a starseed. So for me personally, a starseed is somebody whose soul has incarnated other places than Earth. And particularly why there's a buzz around starseeds right now, in my opinion, would be because the world is changing and shifting and ascending, and I believe that the starseeds who are here today are actually on a mission other than to just ascend their souls. They are perhaps on a mission to help humanity and help planet Earth ascend as well. There's a purpose behind it, more so than just going through a soul's ascension process. That's my personal take on what a starseed would be doing here on planet Earth today.
Yeah, I think that's a great description. And so if you're watching this, there's obviously some curiosity in there. I think, again, there's no coincidences. So if you've picked up this video, then there's something in you that's making you feel as though you want to know more or ask that question. Chances are you definitely identify as a starseed. It's not to say that it makes you any one way better another than anybody else. It's just a way of trying to, as we're moving through this, self-mastery, as a way to, find identity, find out a little bit more about who we are, why we might feel a little different. There are many things that, there's other attributes I think that if you read up on starseeds, you'll find very relative to to those questions, like the feeling of like I said, you feel different, right? I think everybody on a level, on one way or another, feels different, and that's okay. But there's also this longing for home, and this is something that I've identified with as well. That I felt when I was younger, in going through all of the struggles or difficulties, I would say, as being human. And it's kind of that feeling that, do I really belong here, and feeling kind of homesick. And I think that's something that comes up a lot with starseeds. We tend to be a bit more sensitive to the world around us, to I think violence and other things that can feel really intense. And as part of your path, as part of like awakening, that sense of awakening, and many of you will know exactly what I mean by that, is that you kind of come into that connection to all things, and the sensitivity to the world around you, to animals, to people. We all tend to find a growth or a heightened sense of those things within us. I feel a connection just to the stars in general. I've always been really drawn to that. My favorite entertainment has always been science fiction, among comedy and other things, right? But science fiction's always drawn to me. I've been very curious about other beings, ETs, all that, those fun topics, and we'll get into some more of those topics probably more later. But I just wanted to kind of reach out to many of you who may be feeling this and let you know that this is a very real feeling, and there's many of us here. And then something else that Liz touched on that I find to be very important is that sense of purpose. And I think that as many of us are waking up, and it doesn't matter whether you identify as a starseed or not, it's that sense of purpose, and that's where you kind of reach out about to something greater than you, right? So the first thing is that you have to work on you and heal you, so that you can begin to be that service to others and be the light, a brighter light for others. And I think Starseeds, we definitely feel that. There was a really interesting interview with Dolores Cannon, is somebody I would recommend looking into, and she did a whole thing on it about the 3 waves, and basically it's stating how Earth herself, the consciousness of Earth, put out this like distress call as she knew she was going to be going through this ascension process, this growing process, and she was asking for more help because all of us are connected to her, and she wanted us to be a part of that, but there needed to be a vibrational shift and change. So many of us come from all over the stars to incarnate here as humans so that we could help to raise the vibration, so that we could assist in not just the Earth's ascension, but other beings, other souls and life that's here also needing to go through that process. Would you agree on that as well, that perspective, Liz?
Absolutely. And I do feel that there are a lot of starseeds here. They don't always know it. Maybe you've never heard of it, but there are a lot of them here to definitely help with that process.
Yeah. And, if you're feeling curious, just start researching different ET groups. There's some wonderful ones out there. Many have been there to help us. Pleiadians are one. They're a big one. Very, very wonderful and interesting beings to look into. I think that's something, if you feel called to that, maybe you relate to that. You might feel there's definitely a part of you that's Pleiadian. Many of us do have that, and depending on how far back you look into our historical galactic connections, where we all kind of connect to many of those. Arcturians are another large group. Very, very advanced set of ETs. Also, Syrians. I know I'm missing some. There's many. What other ones might?
The lion people. So the Lyrans or the Lyrans. Sometimes you'll hear that.
Andromedans.
Andromedans. Yes.
Are another really.
They kind of look like those beings from Avatar.
I think some do. Something you'll find out as you get into this too is that, like humans, there are many different versions, right? There's many different versions of ETs, right? They don't all look like one thing, right? Like they have different.
Right. They're not all gray little guys that look like, who's that guy on that movie? The funny guy?
That narrows it down.
Well, it was like he's an ET, but he is Paul, maybe? Is that the movie Paul?
Oh, movie Paul. Yeah.
If they don't all look like Paul, I guess is what I'm trying to say.
Like a typical kind of gray, is what you've
extraterrestrial being that you may see when you go down to Roswell, New Mexico area.
A lot of the movies and stuff, that's how they've portrayed most of them. Yeah, right.
They don't all look like
larger heads, big eyes, usually black eyes or something, they exist, and there's much information on that, and it might be of something that we probably dive into more when it comes to different ET races, just because it's interesting and it's fun to learn about those things. But even if you don't connect to that, I think what I also want to bring out here is like, maybe you're thinking like, I don't, you know, if I'm not a star seed, do I have purpose? Absolutely. Do you feel, called to help or be of service to others? There's many ways you can do that. And doing the work that you do on yourself and helping, to really know who you are, I think is one of the most important things you can do. And light worker is another term. Many star seeds are light workers, but just because you're a star seed doesn't mean that you're a light worker. And that I mean that you haven't necessarily answered a call to assist or advance everybody here, the consciousness of us as a collective. Maybe you feel called to in other ways, or you find something that draws your attention or your energy. There's nothing wrong with that. No judgment. I think that's like the main thing, is there's just no judgment. But I felt it important that we kind of touch on this topic because it is very interesting, and there's many ways you can do that. And then Liz, she really loves these cards. These are some oracle cards. If you're not familiar with that, these like oracle cards are similar to like tarot cards. They're great for card readings, and you don't have to be a psychic necessarily to have that. But I would say that if you are a starseed, chances are you already have connected to some enhanced gifts, if you will, or enhanced intuition that you might have too. So,
And for those starseeds out there, I pulled out a card. I don't know if you guys can see it.
Which one did you get?
This one.
Is it? Oh, you're trying to get it to focus?
Yeah, I was trying to get to focus. Okay. So this one says, all paths lead to home, inner authority, intuition, turn your gaze within. And something that's just coming down to me right now that happens to be common with a lot of star seeds is the aspect that love is really the answer rather than a religion. They find spirituality, but spirituality in love is quite a common theme. So for me personally, when I first had a Facebook profile, it asked me what my religion was. This is a long time ago, in the early 2000s, right, in my 20s. Had asked about what I thought my religion was. And what I really identify with is just the concept of love. And so I find that a lot of the starseeds that I meet that are aware that they're starseeds, or they're starting to become aware that they are starseeds, really connect with that belief that love is really the answer to life and is what creates life.
Oh yeah, definitely. And this is really a whole topic in itself, for sure. Love is a vibration. It's an energy, and I believe as well. And there's nothing wrong if you find yourself to find spirituality, or there's something that helps you to feel more complete in a religious belief or system. I think that that's fine. Follow that. Follow your heart is always my answer. Follow your heart. And I was brought up in that in a way as well. But I would say I feel the same way, and that all beliefs and cultures, and in one way or another, at the heart of them is love. That's that message is shared. So I agree as well that in my own expansion of my own spirituality, I feel that love is, they say love is the answer. And I think that's 100% true. It really truly is. I think it starts with love of yourself, like learning to really love you. And this isn't in a egotistical way at all. This is in a very specific and loving way. Within love, love transmutes so many things. You find yourself angry and then think of something you really love, and then see if that doesn't like change your mood immediately, right? So it's very powerful, and I think we'll definitely make another video diving into this more, because spirituality, I think, is another really great topic and discussion or subject that I would love to get into deeper. So, and if that's something that you're interested in, please make a comment down below. I would appreciate that, and give us more ideas and topics. It's something that we've put down, definitely. So we'll be getting into that topic. a lot more.
Absolutely.
So, anything else you can think to add about Starseeds, Liz, that that we might have missed, or that you know?
Yes. So one thing that and maybe we said it already, I could be repeating myself. But one thing that I really want to bring up about Starseeds is they have also incarnated on Earth as well. So they may have a lot of experience with incarnations on the planet Earth as well as other planets. And in my personal opinion, I don't believe that the starseeds that come here come from only one planet. I feel like they've incarnated on multiple planets or have traveled to different planets. Some of us, our original planets were destroyed. So we've incarnated on other planets at that time. So if you still connect with the human aspect of life and you're comfortable being human, it doesn't mean that you're not necessarily a starseed as well, as I feel that the planet Earth is actually a relatively new planet and our souls are very old. Many of us have very old souls who have lived in multiple different planets. So there's some interesting information out there.
I was gonna say that's a great topic as well. You know, reincarnation is really important, and I'm sure many of you feel some kind of connection to that too. And if you're not aware, many religions and cultures, reincarnation is, I'm pretty sure it's a part of all of them, even if it's hard to find. And
in some form or another. Like heaven is just kind of like going on to the next lifetime in a way. You spend your time in heaven after you pass away in this lifetime.
And it was in some of the original writings as well. So I think that's something that's another one of my favorite subjects. Reincarnation. It's fascinating. There's a lot of wonderful information out there, and I think this is yet another topic that I want to get into deeply because it's one of my favorites.
Yes.
I agree with you though. As starseeds, they've incarnated many times here on Earth for one, as well as many other locations and planets. I think if we look at this from a soul perspective, it's always about how the soul is evolving and growing, and that never ends. And you can see this through many different lenses, that's what's the most important is as you go forward is how am I helping myself to evolve, looking at it from your life even from an objective point of view, right? Like it's not personal, whatever's going on, whatever journeys, difficulties you may run into, look at it as more of a how does this help me grow, right? So if knowing yourself as a starseed helps you in some way on that path, then I'd say dive into that subject more. Look into it even more because it is a really fun topic, and I've looked into it a lot because I do think it's helped me. It's helped me to find identity. It's helped me to even, I think, strengthen my own belief in my own divinity, right? Because that's part of finding and loving and truly loving yourself. And that's a big part of my journey too, has always been finding that self-love, and deepening that. And that's what's really helped to heal me a lot. So, yeah, that's great. Thanks for adding that. Is there anything else you think that we should add?
Not specifically, but we will be talking about light language in the future. So if you guys kind of go down that rabbit hole of what a starseed is, you may find people on YouTube or people who write about light language activations. So we will have our take on that as well in the future. And if you are looking more into starseeds and you do come across light language, do ask questions. Share your comments below on this video.
Yeah, that's another fun. Yeah, if you want to know more about that, please comment on that as well, because I think we're actually looking at planning an interview in the near future with somebody very special who speaks in light language, and in that video we'll talk a lot more about that language as well, because that has a lot to do with your star language too, your vibrations.
Yes.
Wonderful. Well, thank you so much, Liz, for speaking with me on this topic today and sharing this wonderful space. And thank you for everybody else that's out there that has questions. I hope this helps. And please subscribe, because we are going to be putting a lot more time into creating more videos. It's I feel it's important. We just have a lot of fun just talking. What we want to get into is just kind of loosening it up, sharing our own journey with you. So thanks, Liz.
Thanks for having me. Thank you guys for watching our show today.
Excellent. All right, until next time, we'll see you.